and come on video if you can. So I'm not talking to my laptop. I know I'm talking to some people around here. So can you whoever can come on video, please come on video. And if you can
Ma'am,
unmute, if you can, please do so.
Andrew, ma'am, this is Dr. Martin, HOD, no, of MHRM department. Very nice to meet you. And so we have like no introduction and other things to take follow up. So before to start the session, so I'll ask the person to host and to follow the procedure. How? Sharon?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Shall I
Thank you.
start, sir?
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you, Mr. Martin, and nice meeting you virtually.
yeah. Thank you, ma'am. This
Yeah,
is the first time meeting you.
I let
Surely.
Sharon do the honors. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. Good evening to one and all present here. I am Sharon Carolyn on behalf of 2nd MHRM BB Vaishnav College. Welcome you all for today's webinar on the topic of childhood to professionalism. Let us welcome a speaker for the day, Ms. Anna Andrews. Ms. Anna Andrews comes with over 22 plus years of rich experience in human resource programs and transformation. She is presently a freelancer and consulting on HR process investments and OD interventions. In her free time, she dubs for Southeast Asian movies and continues in online marketing. And now I would like to introduce our head of the Department of Human Resource Management, DG Vaishnav College, Dr. N.C. Martin. He is highly experienced academician and, and have about 20 years of academic and administrative experience as professor, HOD, dean, and registrar. He did his postgraduate in labor management and PhD in labor laws from Tamil Nadu Institute of Labor Studies. He started his career as a lecturer from the same institute. He held various positions in the arts, science colleges, engineering, and medical colleges. Held academic positions in various education and institutes such as Sri Chandra Prabhu Jain College as an assistant professor and HOD of MSW department, Sam's College of Engineering and Technology as a professor and HOD of MBA department. He was also the placement officer of entire division of Sam's College of Engineering and Technology. During his tenure, he successfully placed engineering and management graduates in the topmost companies of manufacturing and service sectors across the country. He continued his career in St. Joseph College of Arts and Science as a Dean of Academician and LV Prasad Film School, one of the best film school in Asia, working as a registrar. He had added a number of research papers and publications to his career. So to his credit, shit, sorry, power cut here. To his credit, and he is expert in subject of labor legislation and industrial relation. He has given centum results in various HR specialization subjects in the university examination. We welcome you, sir. This
Yeah.
session will be recorded for education purpose. Everyone will be muted to avoid disturbance. Questions can be posted in the chat box, or you can unmute your thing and you can ask question. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for the introduction. First
Thank you,
of
sir.
all, I'm very pleased to welcome our resource person, Anna Andrew, for giving a consent to have a webinar for all of us. Okay, thank you, ma'am. And also, I welcome all the participant faculties, professors, students, and even HR fraternities to be part of this webinar. I welcome one and all. So the topic, the studenthood to professionalism, is really a very good topic, and this is very vital for the student. So how to develop their professionalism in their career. So if you see the studenthood is not a constant process, so it should be changed, and one should strive to equip themselves to achieve the professionalism and should transform themselves to be actual professionals. So what is professionalism? So we can say that professionalism is the conduct, behavior, and attitude of someone in a work business environment. So professionalism leads to workplace success and a strong professional reputation and a high level of work ethic and excellence. Then, how do we show professionalism? So it may be shown by way of respecting others, by learning to communicate effectively, and also by means of being proactive, and also the way we dress also it's some sort of professionalism, and also not to murmur or complaining about others, and practicing best manners, and open to learning. That is, keep on learning, like that we can say. So feeling professional is all about your representation of what being professional means. So professionalism is not about doing only the role. It is about your approach to how do we do the role. It is about not how important or prestigious the role is, no, being like elevating a position or a post, but it depends upon how you fulfill the role and what you make of it. So different people have different perception, and also different ways of being effective professional, depending on the maybe on the context, and also we can say on the personality also differs. So do your best, be ambitious, and one can be competent, and take a pride in a role and your work. So it is about qualities and not no qualifications. So the way you carry yourself is a representation of what you're capable of doing the things, and it is about you as a person and how you as a person fulfill and shape a particular role, and also know how you perceive yourself and how others perceive you is important to make you to prove yourself as a professional. So appearance and contact are really very important. But these are underpinned by a sense of values, attitudes, and behavior displayed by your way of approach towards how do you perform your task, and the way how do you relate it to that work or the assignment what has been given to you. So that is in relation to others with other people. How do you perceive and do the things? And in terms of manifesting interpersonal and also communication skills matter. So the wisdom is that you bring yourself to the role, the appropriate bits, not just doing what you are told or being who you are told to be, but bringing yourself into the role. So maintaining and molding self within the organization is vital, and it's very important. So with this, I conclude, and so leave the sessions to our resource person, Annie Andre. So she's being the expertise to talk much and throw much light on this studenthood to professionalism. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Sharon, for introducing me, and thank you, Mr. Martin, for summarizing my presentation. I think you almost touched every point that I'm going to cover in this session.
Thank you very much.
So I think you guys have a good professor who's already talking what the professional world is already doing. I think you guys need to just make best use of that. Okay, having said that, if you don't mind, sir, with your permission, I'll request the students to come off their mute and come on to the video for just few seconds.
No,
and then
no problem. You can carry on. Now the session is in your control. You can do anything.
Thank you. And then you guys can get back to your screens. So can we have people come on video so it's easier for me to talk to people? Thank you, Sharon, for being on the video. Anyone else who can come on video? If you don't have a problem, please do so. Okay. So first, I wanted to ask you, what's your expectation? So you guys have to unmute if you can. What's your expectation of the session? I know I said Mr. Martin summarized. Now, what's your expectation? Guys, I need this to be interactive. Otherwise, at 6 o'clock in the evening, you guys are going to sleep with whatever I'm going to present. Yeah, thank you, Dinesh.
So what I'm expecting is the transformation and how we should go about the transformation from the studenthood to the professionalism.
Okay. Okay.
To get the maturity, to be honest.
Right. Anything else? Anyone else? What's your expectation of this session? Okay. So zero expectations, I'm assuming. So I'll go to the next question. How many of you are working right now? How many of you are working right now? Anyone? Hi, Navya, you're working? Thanks for coming on video.
No, I'm not working.
Okay. So anyone working? Nobody's working. Anybody has work experience? Anyone has work experience? Okay, no one has work experience. Fine. Okay, so I'll start with my presentation. So we will take questions as we move along, and we'll have discussions towards the end. Give me a moment till I connect over here. You guys can see my screen. Somebody has to answer me because I can't see you guys now because I'm seeing my presentation.
No, ma'am. The meeting screen is only seen.
Okay, meeting screen. Just give me a moment. Okay, can you see now my screen?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Now?
No, ma'am.
Now can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Visible now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so if other than transformation, what other words come to your mind when we talk about students going towards professional life? What other words other than transformation? What is that hitting your mind when you talk about the topic? Can you quickly, one of you, just tell me a few words?
Developing.
Development, good, super. Transformation, development, anything else?
Reality.
Reality, very good. Anything else?
Maturity.
Okay, maturity. Anything else?
The learning is more. It's more continuous.
Okay, so learning, continuous learning. Yes, okay. Wonderful. So I'll stop there. So one very important thing I want you to understand, don't get so serious. Don't be so serious about getting into professional life. And that's why I use the word enjoy the journey. I have always personally enjoyed every piece of my working life. So don't get so serious about maturity, reality, and all of that. Yes, it's important, very important, but don't miss the joy and enjoyment of the journey. So, with that, let me start the next part of this session. This is to again. I was not sure how much Sharon would complete in an introduction about myself. Um, so I know she said I do voice dubbing for Southeast Asian movies. I also do a lot of study of new cultures. And I wanted to tell you, as given the topic that we have, look at my trajectory of professional move. My initial thought was to get into the Air Force and do personnel management there, get into the administration. Then I went on to the tourism world where I was with the airlines and the tours operators. Then I went obviously into the IT. I was there for the last 22 years and now into consulting and also doing online marketing. Now, what does this indicate? Does this indicate that I've been all over the place? No. It means, yes, HR has been my focus. It's the industry that I've made changes in because I wanted to be in certain industries. And then I made the final decision to be in the IT sector, which is where the maximum years of experience is. So if you look at, what is your decision? So this is where I'm starting to already tell you where you want to be. What is your orientation towards? Which kind of industry setup do you want to work in? Think about all that. Understand your own personality and see where do you think you will fit in. My favorite values, integrity and simplicity. I'm absolutely a very simple person, but very, very high on integrity. So look at your values as well. And then my strength, wherever I go, I make a meaningful difference. Whatever I do, I make a meaningful difference. And that's my biggest strength. So with that introduction, I'm going to give you guys a small game. Are you all having a paper and pen or your phones or whatever with you? Can I just hear a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please understand,
Yes,
I can
ma'am.
only see my presentation, so I have no clue about you guys. So please just quickly tell me yes. Okay, so if you have your paper, pen, or whatever that you can scribble out, please write this for yourself, not for me, for your own self. Choose an animal, bird, or reptile that closely represents you. Choose first the name. Once you're done, write 3 positive attributes that closely resembles with that animal. The 3 positive attributes that you have that closely resembles the animal, and the 3 negative attributes that the animal also has and you also have. It should be similar. Can you guys quickly write that for me and for yourself? I'm going to give you a minute. This is a very good exercise, and I'm sure when I show you something else, you'll realize the depth and the meaning, and this is going to be really helpful for you as you step into the professional world as well. Okay, I'm presuming you guys quickly scribbled up the positives, negatives. Don't worry, it can change. Probably you can give it a deeper thought at a later time and rework on this. But remember the 3 positive attributes and the 3 negative attributes of an animal or a bird or a reptile that you closely relate to. I'll give you an example. I relate to the ant. Why? Because there are certain very, very crucial negative and positive attributes that it goes very closely with me. So, it's like that. So you can also decide something like that. Okay. So I give you this URL. If you guys have, again, a paper and a pen or whatever, or a screenshot you want to take, please take a screenshot. You can go into this website. This gives you a personality test, and it gives you how ready you are for professional life. And it gives you also the inputs where you need to improve. So it's a very, very valuable website. I found it very good. Please do take a test there and see how you guys kind of, are ready for the professional life. So this is to start with. Okay. Does that help you? Guys, yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sharon, I don't want you to answer. I want somebody else. Okay, a few of you please come off mute and just interact. It's easier. Start questioning your USP right away. I'm sure some of you would have already done. What's USP? Anyone? Anyone? What's your USP?
Unique selling proposition.
Unique selling proposition. It's not only for marketing, it's also for HR professionals. You have to market yourself.
Branding yourself.
Correct. Yeah. So what's your
Self-branding.
Correct. Your self-branding, how you're going to present yourself, how you're going to talk about yourself when you go for interviews, how much you know about yourself, what is, like I said in the previous slide,
Like your
how much have you, come again?
Yes. You should know about your strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So SWOT analysis, basically.
No, yeah, SWOT analysis is a little independent of the unique, but it's related. SWOT analysis is required for you to come to understand what your unique selling proposition is. Unique selling proposition can, yes, come out of SWOT analysis, but SWOT analysis by itself is very important as a precursor to unique selling proposition. Okay, so identify your unique selling proposition where even your weakness can be converted to strength for your information. So don't consider your weakness to be a weakness. I'm sure many of you have listened to this boxing story where you had an individual with one hand learning to box and fight a very large opponent, and how he goes on to win. The reason is because the person or the coach coaches this individual without an arm to have strategies which he can handle the opponent with one arm. Then the other opponent who had two arms actually struggled with this strategy that this one arm guy had. So I'm sure many of you must have heard those stories. If you haven't, just Google it up. The stories are all there on the internet. And so don't let your weakness, pull you down. Your weaknesses are not necessarily weaknesses that always requires you to, change them as strengths. Sometimes your weaknesses can be used to see how you can handle a situation. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't work on your weaknesses. It depends what you identify as your weakness. So don't get me wrong. You'll have to decide how you want to convert your weakness to strength. Or if you're unable to convert your weakness, don't psych yourself about it. See how you can use your weakness to make that a strength, right? So that's to do with SWOT. But what's unique selling proposition? So unique selling proposition is all about how you want to be branded, how you want people to see you. Like Mr. Martin was saying, it's so important how people see you, how people understand you. So you may have a big picture about yourself as to what kind of a personality you are or what kind of a professional you are. But at the end of the day, if the people who are receiving you are not seeing that proposition coming to them, it's a failure, right? It's difficult for people to orient, and it's difficult for people who have this thinking to align with it. So unique selling proposition is something, basis the SWOT analysis, you identify it and see how you position that as your brand. If I say Anna is as a professional, who is she? What is she like? How is it to work with her? What are the skills that she comes with? What are the competencies that she comes with? What difference can she make? So all this becomes the unique selling proposition. So take those questions. If you have a paper and a pen, please take those questions down and ask that for yourself and see what is a unique selling proposition that you're going to bring it to the table when you enter the professional world, right? Yes, SWOT analysis, like all of you, I think, have and know, and I'm glad all of you are aware. It's extremely important, but understanding the SWOT analysis for a professional life is very, very important. Like I said, don't get upset, don't get psyched you have a weakness. Let's, for example, understand a simple thing like a communication. Okay, a communication in English is a cakewalk for many people. It isn't a cakewalk for some people, or majority people for that, because it's a foreign language in terms of English. But when you say communication, it's just not English. It's about communicating to the other person or a group of people through your body language, through your expressions, through a lot of languages that you can definitely come across, right? So it's very sad sometimes that we see people, getting tagged about not knowing the English language. Now, that is one part. But in the professional world, in certain organizations and industries that you have to work, English may be the only language required. Okay. Why I'm saying language is not an issue? Because let's say you take an industry like a manufacturing industry. For all you know, the local language is a very, very important attribute that a person would need to have. What's the point in having English when you have to work with the flow level and deal with labor union people where people talk only the local vernacular language? So you need to be expert in the vernacular language. But what is very important in communication is the way you reach out to them, is the way you connect with them, is the way they understand you, is the way they accept you, and they see your USP, your unique selling proposition, in the right light. Okay, so SWOT analysis to that extent, please understand when you have to work on your blind spots, please work on your blind spots with a lot of clarity in your mind on why you're working on the blind spots. Open is very easy because everybody knows what you know about yourself, everybody knows about yourself. Hidden is hidden. You want to hide about yourself, nobody knows about it. At some point in time, somebody gets to know because you reveal, it's okay. But blind spot is you have no knowledge about it, but others are perceiving you, is very, very important. Unknown is forgotten. You won't even come to it till you reach it. But blind spot is your most important. So how are you going to align that, and how much of transformation, like somebody said, how much of transformation you want to give yourself to, just because somebody else is seeing something else of you and you have something else of yourself. So you have an understanding of yourself in a different parameter, but somebody else is seeing you in a different parameter. How are you going to match that? So that is the most important. And with that matching is where your unique selling proposition will come. Because you can't just come up with a unique selling proposition about yourself when your acceptance out there is not there at all. I'll give you an example in this. While I was doing a professional trajectory and moving up the IT world, I had to decide. I was an SME, that is a subject matter expert in Comp and Ben up to a certain organization. And I had to take a decision whether I want to be an SME or a generalist. So when that juncture came, I had to see what others saw me as a person who could deliver at a generalist level, or am I an SME? So it came across through certain conversations and through a lot of analysis for my own self that yes, I can move into a generalist role, and I should move into the generalist role for the long run. Otherwise, as an SME, I'm going to get stuck with opportunities. So this is the analysis I did personally. And from an SME perspective and a role that I was doing, I moved into a generalist role. And until I took the last break, I was into generalist roles. And all this was because I did this blind spot evaluation, not just the overall SWOT, but it was the blind spot evaluation. How much of acceptance, how much I can deliver, what is it I need to change, what is it that I need to transform, etc., etc. So please take note of that and work on your blind spot, because you have to know the difference between understanding the blind spot to cater to the needs for mutual benefit, that is a symbiotic benefit, versus transforming basis what everybody is expecting. If you keep changing every time basis somebody's expectation and somebody is telling you, giving you feedback, so you're changing, giving you feedback, you're changing, then you're going to lose your identity. You're going to lose your unique selling proposition, which is connected to this aspect. Okay, so please take note of that. And as I earlier said, making a difference is very, very important. So this USP is all about making a difference. So there are like so many HR people in this world. So when you come into the professional world, what is the difference you're going to bring to the table to an organization? So question that. And then ask yourself first, as I earlier said, what industry you want to be in. Industry is different, function is different. So function, you guys are very clear, HR. But what industry you want to choose, which is the kind of, is it the financial, is it the IT world, is it the manufacturing world, it is the FMCG world, which kind of a world you want to be in. So this world or industry understanding will come only if you sit and understand the cultural differences in these industries. So I chose, and consciously I chose the IT sector because I knew I could align with the IT culture. Now, in the IT culture, if you look at it, there is the BPO culture, there is the product organization culture, there is a service organization culture. So there are so many bifurcations. So again, I had to break down as to see where I'm going to fit in, which culture I'm going to fit in. And over a period of time, I decided it's the product organization culture I would suit. I could never suit a service nor a BPO. So once you decide with clarity on these, this is again, connected to your blind spot. And there you go and you decide what your unique selling proposition you're going to deliver with. For example, the unique selling proposition I defined myself and, worked on myself is the transformation. The transformation is something that came along over a period of the last 10 years, where that was a big USP for me, making a difference to any organization that I was joining. Okay, so do you have any questions? Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very, very important value system. So let me, I'm taking a Google definition of values. It says principal standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. I'd like to add a word there, one's judgment of what is important to drive yourself in life. Okay, for you to be driven, you need to have certain values. What is the value? Like I said, as a precursor, my value is integrity and simplicity. Very clearly, anywhere, anytime, I could always very clearly talk about my value as being integrity and simplicity. Now, with that value, how do I go around working with organizations? Now, organizations also have their own value systems, which is aligned to the goals, and you have to align your value with the organization's value. So whichever well set up organizations you go to, you will have to align your personal values or the organization's values with your own. So typically, integrity, compassion will always be values of an organization, because as HR, it is very, very important to have integrity and trust and compassion. So whatever else be your value, please make sure integrity, trust, and compassion is part of your value. Why do I say integrity? Integrity is not just about honesty. Integrity is not just about being truthful. Integrity is about being a very, very simple, open human being in compassion with the other individual. Because once you understand that integrity goes not just for the business, but also for your human relationship, you'll never miss on that value. Trust is another very important value as HR, because you'll have a lot of employees talking to you with a lot of trust in you, confiding, sharing. You will have a lot of things from the management that they will trust you with, and entrust you with responsibility to handle, which on many occasions you will not be able to share. Though you know how much of a compassionate you want to be with your employee, there are many things you cannot share. You'll have to wait for the right moment and then talk about it. So there is always a kind of a, I won't say it's a fight. It's a kind of a situation where you'll have to really work around to see how you can handle the trust factor. But at no point in time giving up on it. Compassion is extremely important, because you have all kinds of situations, terminations, health related, benefit related, comp related, anything. It could be under the sun, under the HR world, that you will be expected to handle. You cannot always talk rules. While rule of an organization is very important, how you deliver it with compassion is extremely important. So while you hold on to the rules for sake of definition, it's very important to deliver it with compassion. So don't miss integrity, trust, and compassion while you decide on your value system with which you're going to step into professional work. And please understand, you will always be in a situation to align all your personal values to your business goals. And don't shy away from the top 3 that I just told you. And when you go into professional work, don't miss your sense of purpose. Now, your sense of purpose can be your own individual self, or for your family, or for the society, community, animals, birds, just anything under the sun. Don't miss your sense of purpose. Keep at it. Hold on to it, because that's going to give you a lot of reality with which you're going to handle yourself in a professional setting. So the sense of purpose is not about being successful or achieving a goal. The sense of purpose is a lot more encompassing. Like I said, it could be anything that you want to do for yourself, vis-a-vis the society, the community, the family, or any other purpose that you might have. I'll give you an example. I have somebody I know who's very fond of animals, and wanted to do a lot of things. So even at the interview table, the person said, so I think the question I asked was, what would you do if you were not here doing HR work? So he said, I would be, taking care of, working with the Blue Cross and taking care of animals. So his sense of purpose was very clear that he would do anything for animal health and care. So what I took from that discussion was, I saw the person being a very, very, sensitive, very careful, compassionate person. And I said, okay, if you can be with animals that way, I'm sure you can be with human beings similarly. And we had some nice conversation around it. And we zeroed in on, the fact that the person, will we lose this person at some point in time to his sense of purpose? And the person will, you won't believe, actually showed a lot more consistency and continuity over the years. So this sense of purpose is very important to keep you grounded. So don't miss your sense of purpose. Understand what should be your sense of purpose. Sense of purpose is not about closing loans. So don't mistake me when I say family. It's not about closing loans. Sense of purpose is not about financial alone. So if there are financials are normal, it's always there. So don't get into that sense of purpose. If you get into that sense of purpose, you're going to miss, like I said, the enjoyment of professional life. So keep your sense of purpose outside of financials as much as you can. So I'll move on to the next. Any questions here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So what's a symbiotic professional relationship? Anyone? I used this word earlier also. So what's a symbiotic professional relationship? Quickly. If you don't know, you can say you don't know. No problem.
I think, hi ma'am, welcome. And second picture says thank you. And last picture says bye or hi.
Okay, don't go with the picture. The picture is very clearly ways of wishing people, ways of, it's more to do with the COVID situation now, that you don't do handshake, that you do these different signs of wishing people. That's all. Yeah, so the first step in any relationship is wishing each other. So what's a symbiotic professional relationship? It has no connection to the picture. So that's a clue. Any more? Anybody can say, I don't know. At least say, I don't know. Nobody's saying, I don't know.
Sorry, ma'am. No idea.
Wonderful. Who is that?
Is it the
Who is that who said that? No idea.
Divakar, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Because I deliberately asked that because it's so important to accept we don't know. Even there are so many things after all the years of experience and after all the learnings. Let's say Abdul Kalam, he himself said, I'm still a student, right? So don't worry about saying, I don't know. And that's leading me to this point on observe. Okay. So symbiotic, let me explain what is symbiotic professional relationship. Symbiotic means mutual benefit. Okay. You can use this word when you are in the professional world because typically it's a mutually beneficial relationship in a professional world that we work around, right? So when you get into an organization, it's for your own benefit and for the benefit of the organization and for the benefit of all the other people in the organization, right? So what you do for that mutually beneficial relationship, what you have to do, you have to first observe, right? As soon as you get into the organization, you're all typically newbies. Who's a newbie? A new professional, a new person who stepped into the professional world. So your job, first of all, personally, is to observe. So observe the culture, observe the behavior, like exactly what you do from school and when you come to college. You'll observe, right? Oh, this is college. And you also have predetermined information people have given you. People have told you, okay, college will be like this. And there is always a clash between what people have said and what you're experiencing. So same thing you would undergo in an office culture. Because each organization's culture is very unique or sometimes similar, but it has its own uniqueness, right? So you have to observe. So get on to the observing mode. And when I say observing, it doesn't mean you have to stay quiet. Observing means also interaction. So interact and observe. And when you interact, what is required? Obviously, you'll have to speak and you have to start talking. And when you start talking, what happens? Do you generally talk like how you do in college? General? No. You talk with a lot of data, information, reserve your feelings. So this is what undergo change. These are things that you'll undergo some change, right? So whenever you speak and you want people to take you seriously, it's very important that you start talking with data and very, very authentic information. How many of you, when you get WhatsApp forwards, just forward it to next person? How many of you forward WhatsApp, whatever you get WhatsApp message, especially hot news? How many of you? Many of you do that, right? Say yes or no, that's enough. Or anybody else does anything else, tell me. Majority will just forward. Is there anyone else who does anything else other than delete? Okay, what I do, I will go verify the information. I'm sure some of you will do that. Please verify the information, see if it is right, and then only you forward. Similarly, in a professional relationship, it is very important to be very careful with what you speak and how you speak. So what you express should be either basis on some data or some information that's authentic. Reserve your feelings as much as you can. Don't show your anger, your frustration, your opinion unless it is asked for. Okay? So mindfulness. So once you do that, automatically what happens is you're very careful about your relationship building. You're very careful about how to talk to somebody, whether it's a senior, junior, peer level, it doesn't matter. Once you're observing, once you're getting all the data and information, reserving your feelings and not showing your feelings as much, and you're being very careful about what you speak, mindfulness already steps in as a behavior. So what happens in mindfulness? Anybody, what mindfulness means? Anyone? You don't know, it's okay. You can tell me you don't know.
Maybe it's being aware of whatever is happening around you.
Okay. Yes, you're close.
I'm not sure if it's right.
Yeah. Mindfulness is nothing but just being very careful. It's simple as that. You're being very careful about how you are dealing with a particular topic or a person or talking to somebody. If you're talking to a lady, if you're talking to a gentleman, if you're talking to a child, if you're talking to a professional at a particular level, or depending on what your relationship of working is, etc. How mindful are you with the words that you utter, with your behavior, all of that, right? So mindfulness, please mark that word. It's a very, very important cliched word today used in the professional world. And a lot of talk happens around mindfulness. A lot of values also comes around mindfulness. Okay, so use that, read about it, take up, any reading that you can do about mindfulness, do whatever you can. I spoke a lot about compassion in my previous slide. So compassion is very important to build a symbiotic professional relationship, because tomorrow when a person who you dealt with compassion is approaching you to work with you in another assignment, it's easier to work with than having somebody you worked with having spoken rules and regulations and had a very tough fight, and then again clicking back, it's going to be difficult. I'm sure you have a similar situation in your college as well, with your friendship relationship as well. So compassion, like in family setting, friendship setting, in professional setting, also goes the same way. It's just that in compassion, in a professional setting, compassion comes with reservation. Like I said, the trust and integrity goes hand in hand with compassion. So just because you're compassionate to somebody doesn't mean you reveal all the information, all the company information, or divulge a lot of details, etc. You have to be compassionate, but at the same time, you need to be aware how to be integrity oriented and trustful. Entrepreneurial versus a conservative attitude. This is something you will see a lot in organizations. because it is very, very rare and very minuscule organization where you'll have the entrepreneurial attitude. When I say entrepreneurial attitude, it means where the organization gives freedom for individual thought processes, individual working. Very few organizations. So the conservative attitude is typically go by the rules of the game. This is how we work. This is how you should be doing, etc., etc. So you might go there and you might think, oh my God, I didn't think, this is the kind of a setting I would be working in. I thought it'll give me no freedom. I don't like this. I'm not happy with this. You will go through that situation. And that's the time it's very, very important to go back to the first question. Are you in the right industry for the kind of strength and weakness or whatever you have in yourself in terms of analyzing who you are and where you want to be? So this entrepreneurial versus conservative attitude is a reality. Like somebody was saying, what's the reality that I have to face as a professional? This is the reality you'll have to face. So very minuscule organizations, and I have to be thankful to God and to the organizations I worked. I predominantly worked in organizations which were entrepreneurial in nature. So it aligned with me as an individual, with the personality that I was, etc. So it was easier. And wherever I went into a conservative attitude organization, I obviously didn't fairly do well, or I didn't, I was not able to align myself. So I always ensured I moved away. So this is honestly and practically is something that I have personally done. And so this striking a balance is very, very important. So the minute you are in a conservative attitude organization or a professional setting, you cannot just throw and run away. You'll have to see how to handle it. So you need to see how you can strike a balance. You need to work it out. And then eventually see where your calling is in terms of an entrepreneurial attitude organization. So I leave those decisions and those analysis to you, but that's the reality when somebody asks. Be open to diversity. So what's diversity? You guys must be hearing this a lot, right? So anyone on what's diversity?
It's basically people from different backgrounds.
Yeah. Okay. Then any other?
And inclusion of people into the organization.
Correct. Inclusivity, diversity of caste, creed, religion, and blah blah blah, communities, geographies, etc. Then what else?
I guess that's it.
I have written it there. It's also about diversity of opinions. Okay, it's not about people. It's also about opinions. Like you might think very different, and all of us think very differently from each other, right? So how open
By
are
opinions,
you?
we have perceptions.
Yeah.
By opinions, is it perceptions?
No, like I said, opinions. Yeah, opinions can be influenced by perception, right? So when somebody is expressing an opinion, it's basis a perception, right? So how open are you to those opinions? Do you say no, I don't like what you're saying, that's horrible? No, that's not the way he should be speaking, that's horrible? Do you say that? I'm sure many of us say that. So let's accept it. That's how as I think as a culture we from a social culture, that's how we are. We kind of put down how somebody else expresses or how somebody else says something, because it doesn't align with what we think and how we've grown up, right? So diversity is also there. So if you are open to diversity, not just because of the background of the individual or from the culture of the individual, but also the thought process of an individual, you have won everything. You have won everything, because everything else above that I said is taken care, right? So work on how open you can be with diversity, not just as people, but also with opinions. Now, when I say that, does it mean, okay, I'll keep quiet and I'll accept with whatever somebody says, and it's just perfectly fine? Is that what I mean? No. Yes, it is no, and yes, it's no, because we don't accept somebody blindly. Yes, because we let others speak. Now, when I say open to diversity, it means of opinions, it means you let somebody express themselves. once they express themselves, if they have said something different from the situation or what you're thinking, you can just leave it at that. You don't have to force your opinion on them to say, no, what you're saying is wrong. For all you know, it can be wrong. Let it be wrong. It's okay. But just leave it at that. So it's very, very important. And typically, this is where most of, including in student life, in family life, in organizations, where most of the relationship failures happen, because we don't want to let the person say what the person wants to say, because we are already thinking what the person should be saying. So it's very, very important that we are open to diversity of opinions as much as we have started thinking of diversity of people, right? How many of you have worked with tribals? Have you all worked with tribals? Anybody? Nobody? Okay. Okay. How many of you have worked with the community workers, like your garbage pickers? How many of you worked with them? Okay. Nobody. How many of you have worked with organization manager level, any team leader? Have you worked? Have you had any kind of relationship to, go on assignments, go on, activities and do something in organization setup? Nothing. Okay. No profession. No corporate experience as well. Okay, I'm assuming no for an answer. Then you guys are really naive. I'll tell you, because when I was in college, I did work during the holidays. So I worked for Weekender. Those days we had these outfits called Weekender, Warehouse, Konica Color Lab. So I went as a sales girl to work there, and I went to Madurai to teach in a school. So I worked with a lot of people there. The farmers, the people, the teachers, the local teachers there, etc. So I already had started working with different groups of people to understand mindsets and the working and how they think, etc. And I already started working on seeing how to build relationships with very, very different attitude people. So why I'm saying this is because I decided to be in HR when I was in 10th grade, and I was very, very clear I was going to do HR come what may be the industry, whether it's Air Force, whether it is tours or travels or IT. I was very clear. So my trajectory started from 10th grade. So when I was in college, I went on to do all of this. So why I'm saying this to you is it's very, very important that you open yourself to start dealing with different segments of society, different people groups, different opinions and attitudes. So the more you work with such people, you will see how your strength also grows in dealing with such people. So it's all the more easier when you get into a professional setting to work with people with different opinions and different backgrounds. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Any questions here? I just want to be a little careful with time as well, so I'll quickly move to the next. First 5 years, all of you know, for a child, all of you understand first 5 years is the formative years. Yes? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
first 5 years is the formative years. So similarly, for a professional life, my opinion and my experience, first 5 years is the formative years. So don't, jump before the 5th year that you know everything. Take your first 5 years at your own, speed and at your own pace to understand the function, the industry, the organization. Get to do everything under the sun. Like I think the first 2 years, I did a lot of paper filing. The first 2 years, I did a lot of PF work. First 2 years, I did a lot of question paper handing over to at the recruitment time to candidates. So it's perfectly fine. What made the difference was how I did it and how I built relationships with candidates. what difference I brought to the table, even doing those small things. And those small things, how did it add up to the larger things that I did eventually? So the first formative years, please understand, like how children grow up in the first 5 years, which is crucial, where you give them all the direction, behavioral change, behavioral definition, etc. The same way in the first 5 years in your professional trajectory is very, very important. So don't rush your first 5 years. Don't rush to get promotions. Don't rush to say, no, I don't want to be in this organization. Of course, you can do that if it's from a value perspective, like we discussed earlier, it doesn't align with you. But otherwise, as much as there's learning in an organization, stick to it. Learn everything under the sun in the first 5 years. What you need to develop is role-based competencies. So as you enter, you would enter as a trainee or an executive or those kind of titles. But the titles is not important. What's important is what roles are you going in for? What actually you're going to do. So see what competencies you want to develop. So for your quick understanding, I've just put in some competencies that is expected of any organization. You can quickly read up. I'm not getting into it. So role-based competencies are very, very important for you to start inculcating. And of all the competencies that you can see there is what is very, very important. There are two things very, very important from my experience and from my own individual development. Two very, very important: analytical thinking and communication. These two will help you in the long run very, very largely. Okay. So wear your analytical thinking hat. Whatever you do, analyze. What is analytical thinking? N number of articles are there on the internet. Please go read up. Communication, again, not the English language. Communication is all about verbal and non-verbal communication. And when we say verbal, again, it's not about English language alone. If your English language is good, superb, get to it, be at it. If your English language is not good, and if you think wherever you're going, you need to develop it, work on it, develop it. Don't let that hurt you. Non-verbal is extremely important. Body language, your body language, which includes, how you smile, how you look into the eyes of people and talk, how you sit, how you carry yourself, what kind of clothing you wear, how would you present yourself, a whole lot of things. Again, non-verbal communication, a whole lot of information is available on the internet. Please go read and see where you are and where you need to be. And please work around it because absolutely important, right? I always give this link to all my team members and whoever has worked with me, whoever know me, they know I love this URL. Please take it down if you want to. This is the URL even I go to whenever I need, is thefreedictionary.com. This is the URL which gives you everything that you require to help you with the verbal communication. So use it wherever you require and whenever you require. Okay, so any questions here? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next. So what doesn't change? How many of you have a book and a pen? Like I asked you in the beginning, I still carry a book and a pen. Okay. And how prepared are you for this meeting? I don't think anybody came prepared for this meeting. Okay, you could have done some reading. You could have given me some pointers, some inputs, and all of that. So even if you are an audience, even if you are somebody who's just going in for a meeting and your leadership is presenting, how prepared can you go for a meeting? As a fresher, as a newcomer, how prepared can you go for a meeting? You can check with your manager, your leader, your team leader, asking what is it that's happening, and you work around some preparedness for that meeting. So go with that. Same thing like how you do in school, college classes. So there it doesn't change. Just continue practicing that. If you're not doing it now, then please start doing it. Being on time. I saw many of you coming well before time, and lovely. That's so beautiful. Please continue to do that. If you're not a person who's a timekeeper, please continue. Please make sure you change that, because this is a very, very important trait and an important requirement for you to scale, for you to be recognized, for you to be even being successful. It's a very, very small piece, but absolutely a very critical piece. Be on time. And when I say be on time, it's not when you say 6 o'clock is the presentation, don't come at 6. 5 minutes before 6 is very important. Respect for one another, which is closely linked to your mindfulness. Respecting one another basis, like we said, the diversity. How open are you with diversity of opinions and feelings, etc. So the respect for one another, never miss it. If you're angry with even if you're angry with somebody in an organization setting, like you do in school, college, you would either go thrash it out or you show your face and turn out. So I would prefer you go and thrash it out in a professional setting. Don't turn your face, or don't turn the person away. So respect for one another, even when things are not going well, is very important to see how you can convert it into being well, right? So that's very, very important. So if you've not been practicing that already, please start practicing that. Learning, like you would always do in a college and school and wherever, learning continues. Like I said, Abdul Kalam said, right? Learning, I'm always a student. So we are all learning all the time. Just that I probably have learned a few things before you, and you would be learning a few things after me. But there are many things you guys must be learning already, and I have not learned also. So we would, mutually learn in an organization setting, but learning continues. And absolutely, in my opinion, enjoyment. I enjoyed. I till date enjoy. Even now, as I'm presenting to you, I love this and I'm enjoying it. So please enjoy whatever you do, like you're already enjoying in school and college. I don't know how much of you go by role models and things like that. I've already always had role models. I have 3 role models. All of them are women. Of course, Abdul Kalam stands there, no doubt. But my role models have been Jayalalitha, Mother Teresa, and Obama, Michelle Obama. So why I chose all of them, I have my reasons, but those are my role models for various different things that I have and do. So you guys can come up with your own role models who you want in your life. And a very important quote that I use as my approach has always been this: the choices that I make, the chances that I take, and the changes I appreciate and I undergo. So that was very important for me. So what choices am I making? Like I already told you, what are the different choices I made in my life? What are the different analytical decisions that I've taken? And what chances did I take to make those decisions, choices come real? And how those changes impacted my life, impacted the changes I wanted in my life, the way I wanted it. So this is the quote that drove me all these years and will drive me for the future as well. So you must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never make a change, right? If you want things to be better, if you want something else to be the way you're seeing somebody else, or you're comparing somewhere, or you have your own definition of how you want your life to be, then these are very, very important things that you have to do. This is my quote. This is what I lived by. So it's up to you to take a similar quote that will help you, guide you. So I'm done. Any questions, any discussions, any pointers you want to have, please let me know. Thank you for listening. I hope it was helpful.
Any questions, guys?
Okay. No problem. Don't ransack your brains at 7 o'clock. I'm always available. So if you guys need to write to me or contact me, please go ahead. Sharon has my phone number. I can share my email ID too. You guys can write and take any help you need from me. I am all excited and happy for all of you to come into the professional world. All the very best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Sorry, is there anything else from your side?
Yes, ma'am. Feedback form will be posted. Please check and kindly fill the feedback form. We'll get e-certificate.
Okay, will I get the feedback form too? I mean, for me to see. Can I see the feedback?
We'll send you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.